Hello, Nerd Camp people. It is Wednesday morning, and I just came back from Nerd Camp late last night and wanted to offer you some of the materials and just kind of a brief overview, kind of review of what we talked about in the book group session. I'm already missing all the excitement and energy of the camp, but it is good to kind of be back and start processing some of the things that we discussed here in our session, and then all the other wonderful sessions that um, I feel privileged to be a part of. So let me just take you quickly through this video. I'm going to put it on YouTube, and then I'm going to put it on the website along with all the different materials and a few explanations. So let's get started. Okay, so I didn't get to show you these pictures, but I just wanted to show you what the classroom looks like on book group days. So we, of course, moved the desks together. You can see all the different groups that we have. Most tables have somebody recording it. I think you can see here, over here is the digital recorder that we used. So it's a little less intrusive than the Chromebooks. And then you can see the students have snacks that they brought. Everyone kind of brought something different. Not the most healthy day, but definitely sharing of the chips helps kind of make it a little bit more fun and casual. And then over here you can see that there's one student who is home and she missed the book group, but they used their phones to kind of bring her into the conversation so that she could be a part of it, even though she wasn't at school. You can also see back here some students are, reading from the text, citing their sources. Students are looking at each other, engaging with each other, looking at their jobs. So there's lots of engagement kind of going on in these pictures to capture what's possible on book group days. So this is a whole class, the whole 40 minutes of our reading class go to the book group days once a week during the book group rounds. So I showed you this slide. And the things in yellow are what we kind of focused on in there, but I think this is a good overview of all the different um, skills and experiences that can be involved when you do book groups. And you can pause this and look at it more carefully if you wish. One of the things I think are kind of often overlooked are the sort of the responses with the emotional um, conversations to talk about like how people are responding and what is it about the author's craft that's sort of triggering those responses, or what is it about the story plot that's triggering those responses. And I think that's worth kind of highlighting when you talk about book groups. I think sometimes when you're working on new procedures and protocols, you can kind of forget about the way that the books are moving our hearts and minds. So we talked about choice and all the different choices that students could have, maybe if we kind of were more cognizant or tried to kind of put this at the forefront of our teaching and give students different opportunities to make choices as they're reading independently or in groups. So I talked a little bit about that, and I'm just going to kind of click through these slides and you can pause them and read them a little bit more carefully. Oh, and I forgot about the snacks, which are really important. It is, just, books and food, it kind of like, it shifts the association um, to something more fun and casual and communal when you add food to books. So choice empowers students. Choice shows that you're valuing student choices and the students' lives when you give them choices. Choice leads to real and meaningful conversations. Choice helps establish and deepen relationships. And choice leads to independence. So time to choose, how to choose books or abandon books, how choices impact your preferences. If you're always reading the same thing, you're probably going to prefer similar things. And sometimes in the book groups there are opportunities to kind of stretch your reading into something that you wouldn't normally choose. And you can do that. I think that's great to do with it. It may not be the most popular book, but if you can get a group of people together who like each other and know each other, they can choose their friends and then maybe read a book that's uncomfortable for them, and just imagine the kind of discussions that they have as they work through that discomfort together. How different texts impact reading preferences. So maybe if it's more challenging, you're going to want to read it with different people or in a different position, or you might want to take notes. And if it's easier, you might want to read more casually, laying down and not take notes. So just, you don't always read the same text in the same way. I think this is an important part that I don't know that I emphasize very much, is that, making time to read and research and respond and analyze, doing it all during class is really the work of teaching. It's the work of teaching. So, students learn their preferences, they try alternatives when all of that is happening in class because they can see other readers in the community. And the teacher's there to support their reading preferences, to support how they're stretching into new experiences in the conferences. And this way you can offer the students the next steps because you know them better. And it's the best part about the book groups is that the teacher isn't the only one doing it. It's the classmates are doing it as well. They kind of take on the role as partner readers, kind of like teachers. When I started doing book groups, of course, I read more so that I could be a part of the discussions in the conferences. I also started writing a little bit more because it gave up some class time for students to write and for me to write, because we were just using time more efficiently. So if we spent more time in class during the reading, and we were really strategic about it, we could use more other class time to do some writing. And I'll say more about that, I guess, in another blog, another time, how that works. And of course, you get to know your students better. And most importantly, you get to learn from your students because they're all bringing different kinds of assets and expertise. The role of your classroom will change, and I think this is the number one reason a lot of teachers don't like to do book groups, is because you're more of sort of like a party organizer in a way. You're setting up the materials and doing the seating charts and making sure that you have food and making sure everyone's prepared and everyone knows what's going to happen and the important dates and making sure everyone's going to be there. There's a lot of organizing that goes on, and you may feel like you're not teaching as much, but you're actually sort of guiding students as they're doing the reading, as they're doing the discussion, kind of jumping in with little pointers as you see it. So almost like a coach. So if the students are in their group talking or working on something, or something isn't going well, you can jump into the group and sort of model for them. So it's much more coaching and facilitating than it is sort of standing and teaching and transferring knowledge. So we talked a little bit about the little practice in class where I gave you guys our class in our session. So I gave everybody some books, and we did a really sort of a formal protocol that was pretty quick and pretty easy, where you chose your book, you read the back, you read the first pages, you prepared like a mini intro, you rotated sharing, maybe you tried some follow-ups, looked for some connections, talked about the age of the character, the setting, the genre, topics. All of that happened really quickly. We did that very informal work in a matter of 5 minutes, and I think you can start your school year doing things like that with your students. So I showed you this short video, and I have it linked in the blog, of students doing that sort of informal conversation about their books. So one student read More Than We Can Tell, one student read The Bitter Side is Sweet, and one student read The Wrinkled Crown. And I can tell you that just these 3 choices say a lot about the students. They chose these books. The student who chose The Bitter Side is Sweet, she read a lot of historical fiction that quarter, and the student read a lot of fantasy, and the student read a lot of realistic fiction. She was really ready for some sort of heavy subjects, and they kind of stayed with these genres for the whole first quarter until they got into the book groups and stretched into different things. So this was really important way for me to get to know my students' habits and their preferences and really their strengths as well. We talked about why this was successful, and it's important that not every time the students are in their groups do they have to be reading the same book. I think it's important to spend the first part of the year where the students are reading their own books, so they are the expert. They're not depending